Yeah, hi everybody. So in this program, we are developing a generative AI model for compliance risk production, for compliance risk prediction. The name of this project is AI-powered risk assessment for financial compliance. And here is a quick review. We are targeting generative AI engineer roles for an organization like Deloitte in this particular project. And I'm going to give you a quick review of what all we have done so far in the compliance risk model. So in this compliance risk model, we have to build a system which will do this for us. So our objective is to design a GenAI system. This GenAI system is going to receive an input. In this input, we are going to take some customer data and certain transactions data. Okay. Once we get this inputs done, we are going to go to phase number 2, where we are going to perform some rule checks around it. Okay. And these rules are from RBI. And, we have reviewed PMLA rules, money laundering, related rules in the previous session. We have already reviewed that. So we are going to set up thresholds across these checks. We are going to, structure those checks. We are going to perform KYC status checks. So some rule checking would be done. And our generative AI system would be performing those rule checking across the data which is available to us. Then what we will do, we'll move to the next stage where we will extract risk features. Okay. And what risk features we would extract? So a few of them are mentioned here. We will consider profile mismatches. We will consider geographies which are violating such rules and the patterns across certain geographies, velocity of the transactions. So there would be various other features which we will account while implementing this system. Then the next stage would be risk scoring, where we have to risk those transactions or accounts as low risk, medium risk, or high risk. Okay. And we are going to explain the drivers, those who are driving those risk factors. So we have to explain it to the stakeholder or to a technical analyst, or let's say someone responsible to take an action across it. Okay. So we will be explaining those drivers, those who are, complementing these risk scores. And then our analyst or whoever is responsible to take an appropriate action across such, compliant risk transactions, he is going to take respective action across it. So we'll be sending it to a human review, and the analyst is going to check the context and the supporting evidence across the risk which is being generated. We also have an action phase where either we can allow the transaction, we can hold the transaction, we can seek more information across the transaction, or we can enhance due diligence across that account or that type of transactions. Okay. And finally, the system should do escalations. Okay. This is an important part. This is the outcome which is expected out of the system. So there could be internal alerts which will, alert the key accountable people, those who are responsible for monitoring these risky transactions. They will be, alerted. Apart from that, there could be an STR alert, or there could be ongoing monitoring, which can be done across that, account or that transactions. Okay. So we are going to implement this system in this particular project. Now, getting back to what all we have covered so far. So I hope you have got a little idea about this. So what are we doing? We are referring this document, which is existing public compliance rules for banks in India. And this document is built on the basis of these following documents from RBI. So one is the Master Direction, Know Your Customer Direction 2016, this document. And second is the Public Compliance Framework. Okay. These are the two documents on the basis of which we have identified certain rules which we do need to implement in our GenAI system. Okay, we have already covered about across this RBI KYC master direction, PMLA, PML rules, bank internal policy, and AI risk model in the previous session. And I have shared that video session with you, so you guys can review in case if there are any gaps. Apart from that, we have also discussed the areas where we have to keep, we have to focus in order to identify what kind of risky transactions could be. It could be a customer risk category. It could be non-anonymous accounts or, Benami accounts. There could be, customer due diligence required before setting up a relationship or an account for a holder by the bank. Similarly, there should be certain KYC triggers, identification was required. So we already discussed these points in the previous session in details. So once you go through with the previous session, you'll get to know about this. And now what our objective for the day is, we will continue from here. The special customer categories and controls. We have already discussed about small account limits in the previous session, where we have discussed that a small account has limits on annual credits, monthly withdrawals, or transfers and balance, as well as foreign remittance is not allowed until full identity is established. This is a rule for small accounts by RBI. Okay. And when we will be implementing our GenAI system, that system should be able to implement all these roles. And there should be minimal human intervention required. Okay. That is why we need an AI-based system who will do this on our behalf. And that kind of system we are going to build. Now, the second special rule category is non-face-to-face onboarding. Okay. You guys are aware that nowadays banks have offered this video KYC mechanism. So whenever you have to open an account on the app, you can just go to the account, fill all your information. One executive from the bank will come online and he will maybe interact with you, see your IDs, and then he's going to approve your account. This is what is happening in today's scenario with various banks. Okay. So in that case, RBI has set up these rules. So in case if an account is opened remotely, this must be treated with added caution until stronger verification is completed. Okay. So how will you ensure that a GenAI system would be able to evaluate the user and the users are not going to, mistreat the system or, maybe people can use technology like a video on a mobile phone to get that verified, or a picture on a mobile phone to get that account verified. Because nowadays we all are aware GenAI is capable of creating realistic videos of people, and we can create a video of anybody in the world. So how will we be able to protect against such cases? So there is this rule. So if there is a non-face-to-face onboarding is happening, if a person is not physically available in the bank, if you're going through with a video KYC mechanism or anything like that, then you should have a stronger verification at place. And it should be evident that it cannot be bypassed. Okay. So we have to keep all of these things in mind while we are preparing a system for a bank. Now, the objective is not to build a prototype project. The objective is to build a system which a bank can adopt. Okay. So as we are deployed, let's say with Deloitte. So Deloitte has this project with a bank to implement GenAI services across international banks. Maybe not. It is not just limited to India, because Deloitte would be offering these services to banks across the world. So that the experts should be able to focus on all of these categories, all of these rules which are at place, and the system should ensure that all of these rules are implemented in a proper way. Okay, that is what is the objective. That is what is expected from a GenAI lead or an AI transformation leader or a generative AI engineer, so that he can actually see what kind of challenges would come and how we're going to use this technology to solve that challenge. Okay, I believe this is clear. Tarun, are you able to understand? हिंदी में भी समझाता जाऊंगा, चिंता मत करो. Okay, Dr. Nag, how's your Hindi?
Yeah, I can follow. Not a problem.
You can
Maybe
understand.
I may not be able to speak the way you speak, but I can understand. I can follow. Thanks to
Okay.
Bollywood.
Okay, so I'll
And
use.
and also I had a lot of, uh, colleagues from North, like
Okay,
Bihar, UP, Gujarat. I mean, a lot of people were there. So we used to interact here and there. Like, it is not a problem. I can manage it.
okay, great, sir, great. I'll use
Thank you,
both
thank you.
English and Hindi so that
No problem, no problem. I
no
can follow.
information gets missed. Okay, so
Right.
ठीक है तरुण, ये बात समझ में आ गई ना. अगर नॉन फेस टू फेस ऑनबोर्डिंग है, तो अगर कोई भी अकाउंट रिमोटली ओपन हो रहा है तो वहां पे हमें स्ट्रॉन्गर वेरिफिकेशन लगाने की जरूरत है, ताकि कोई सिस्टम को चीट ना कर सके. ओके, ये हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो जब भी हमारा जेनएआई सिस्टम इंप्लीमेंट होगा, हमें ये ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि रिमोट अब ये तो नहीं कर सकते कि यूजर्स को हम ऑफिस बैंक बुलाएं. ठीक है, नो बैंक एम्प्लॉय वांट्स पीपल टू कम एंड विजिट देयर बैंक. इवेंचुअली दे वांट कि ठीक है, डू एवरीथिंग ऑनलाइन, डू इट फ्रॉम नेट बैंकिंग और डू इट फ्रॉम वीडियो प्रोसेसेस एंड सो अब क्या करना पड़ेगा, सिस्टम को तो प्लेस पे लाना पड़ेगा. तो सिस्टम के पास सारी कैपेबिलिटी होनी चाहिए कि वीडियो कैसे बाईपास हो जाती है, हाउ विल वी बी एबल टू प्रोटेक्ट सच इश्यूज. ओके, सो रियलिस्टिक इवैल्यूएशन हमें एआई के थ्रू करने पड़ेंगे. ओके, आज भी बहुत बार होता है. सो देर इज this very common problem which is happening nowadays. If you all have seen, there are various platforms where you have to upload your identity in order to register on the platform and, let's say, use the service around it. I'll give you one example. Suppose, let's say we are a software developer company, okay, and we want to get some projects. So let's say there is a website known as Upwork. There's a website like Freelancer, from where we can get some outsourced projects. Okay. Now, what they do typically, they would want a user's identity to be validated before they start, receiving any job recommendations or any project recommendations. So they do this evaluation across Aadhaar cards or any government IDs, like let's say passport, driving license, or any other government ID. Now, what is happening? These Aadhaar cards are created way back for people, and now people grow up. Okay, their Aadhaar cards have been made. Let's say they were in college or they were in school, and now they have become an adult. And now when they apply for that, so when they use this card, the photograph is old. Okay, maybe on that photograph, let's say there are various facial features are not there, like a mustache or hair, or change in maybe shape of your face a bit. So these systems are not able to recognize those people. So even if a person who holds a valid identity card gets rejected by the system and sometimes get banned by the system. Okay, so how we are going to deal with such issues? So that is a very realistic issue, because in this case, when an AI system is working, it blocks around more than 50-60% of legitimate users on the platform, and which creates a lot of bad experience for people. So digitally, if people are getting bad experience, they are going to just get out of that application. They don't want to use it wherever they are feeling blockages. Okay, because the objective is to have a smooth transition or have a smooth access to the services which are available digitally. तो अब हम ऐसे कैसे सिस्टम बनाएं कि ये वाली प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सके, कि अगर कोई पुराना आधार कार्ड है, ठीक है, अब एक दिन में तो नया कार्ड बन नहीं जाता. अगर आज भी अगर मैं भेजूं कोई भी आधार कार्ड बनने के लिए, तो हो सकता है वो 1 महीना लगा दे to get a new identity card created and delivered. So how we are going to deal with such challenges? Are there any mechanisms which we are going to put at place? So all these practical problems we have to solve. Okay, while we are implementing an automated AI kind of system who will be working at a compliance level. Now, similarly, there are certain special, accounts known as politically exposed persons. So there is a rule across these politically exposed persons. Okay, so what is required? Enhanced due diligence is required. So let's say if you are a politician, or if you are associated with any political agenda or any any such organization. So banks have a role to have an enhanced due diligence across these accounts. Okay, so they want to verify source of funds. Okay, so these checks are implemented. Source of funds checks are there. Senior approval is required in that case. So a Gen AI system has to cross-verify the source of funds. Then it should communicate with a senior professional to approve it. And on the basis of his decision, whether the account has to be approved or whether the account has to be rejected or flagged or whatever needs to be done will be decided by this LLM, okay, by this Gen AI system. Also, there should be stronger monitoring because majority of the times these politically exposed persons get money from different sources across borders. Okay, and in order to protect against any terrorist activities or any such non let's say governmental activity to take place, banks have to identify and comply those transactions and maybe produce those risky transactions to the legitimate regulator. So this is a very, very important part, because in case if something happens, then eventually the government gets back to the bank and they want the bank to identify how that transaction took place. Okay, so when AI systems would be placed with banks, so there would be a lot of compliance issues would come. Okay, eventually it is going to make this productivity faster, मतलब काम और ज्यादा तेज हो जाएगा, बट बहुत सारे ऐसे रिस्क हैं जो खड़े हो जाएंगे, और वो रिस्क को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए जो हमारा इंजीनियर है, जो भी ऐसा जेनएआई सिस्टम बनाएगा, उसे मालूम होना चाहिए कि क्या क्या रिस्क हैं, करंट क्या पॉलिसीज हैं, और वो पॉलिसी में प्रॉपरली कैसे अपने सॉफ्टवेयर के साथ में इंप्लीमेंट करूंगा. ओके, आई बिलीव दिस इज क्लियर टिल हियर. Similarly, let's get to the next one. Then there should be periodic KYC updations. Okay, this is required. आजकल आप लोगों ने देखा होगा, पहले नहीं होता था, बट आजकल ना बैंक की केवाईसी हर थोड़े दिन में आ जाती है कि आपका केवाईसी पुराना हो गया है, काइंडली गेट योर अकाउंट वेरीफाइड, काइंडली गेट योर केवाईसी डन. Okay, so in fact, let's say if you have not used your account for some time, let's say if you have not done any transaction for past 6 months or so, and if you want to start your transactions in a respective account, आपको केवाईसी करनी पड़ेगी. ठीक है, जो ऑनलाइन एप्लीकेशंस हैं उसके अंदर ये बहुत होता है. पेटीएम अगर आप देखो, हर थोड़े दिन के बाद आपको एक केवाईसी करने की जरूरत पड़ जाती है. Phone pay, you have to get those KYCs done. Whenever you are starting any new service, you have to do a KYC again. Okay, so this is a mandate from Reserve Bank of India that in case if you are handling a customer which is non face to face with your business, in that case you have to have frequent validation of the customer. Frequent KYC is required. Okay, so your Gen AI system also has to have certain patterns, and on those certain patterns this trigger should execute, जिसमें आपको KYC करनी पड़ेगी. The system should be able to do KYC with a respective account. ठीक है, तो ये भी बात हमें ध्यान रखनी है कि जब हमें सिस्टम बनाना है तो एक पॉलिसी है आरबीआई की कि आपको फ्रीक्वेंट KYC अपडेट करना है, तो वो भी हमें सिस्टम के अंदर इंप्लीमेंट करना होगा जब हम प्रोग्राम करेंगे सिस्टम को. ओके, now, so KYC records must be updated periodically based on risk level, and high risk customers need more frequent review. So in case if your account is flagged as high risk, so eventually you have to face a little more number of KYC upgradations or KYC checks. ठीक है, frequently review होता है अगर आपका अकाउंट कुछ भी सस्पिशियस एक्टिविटी में आ रहा है. तो सिमिलरली जब आप एक AI सिस्टम को एड प्लेस करोगे तो आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि ठीक है, वी हैव टू इफ देयर इज अ हाई रिस्क ट्रांजैक्शन हैपनिंग और इफ एन अकाउंट इज फ्लैग्ड एज हाई रिस्क, तो मुझे उसका केवाईसी करना है. ओके, क्लियर? आई थिंक दिस इज क्लियर टू एवरीबॉडी. सो हमारे पास एक स्पेशल कस्टमर कैटेगरी है और उसके सर्टेन कंट्रोल्स हैं कि अगर स्मॉल अकाउंट लिमिट्स हैं तो उस लिमिट के बेसिस के ऊपर अगर कोई भी फाइनेंशियल फॉरेन ट्रांजैक्शंस हो रही हैं तो आपके पास पूरी आइडेंटिटी होनी चाहिए कस्टमर की. नॉन फेस टू फेस ट्रांजैक्शंस या ऑनबोर्डिंग में आपको और स्ट्रॉन्गर वेरिफिकेशन करने की जरूरत है। पॉलिटिकली एक्सपोज पर्संस के अक्रॉस आपको स्ट्रॉन्गर मॉनिटरिंग करने की जरूरत है। उनके सोर्स ऑफ फंड चेक करने पड़ेंगे आपको, सीनियर अप्रूवल चाहिए, और एक पीरियोडिक केवाईसी अपडेशन होना चाहिए अगर हाई रिस्क कस्टमर है तो। ओके, नाउ व्हाट द एआई शुड रिमेंबर? So AI should remember a customer risk score is never based on amount alone. Okay, it is not just the amount and the transaction. There are many more signals which we have to take care of while evaluating whether an account is a high risk, medium risk, or low risk. I believe this is clear. Okay, so it is just not the amount, it is just not that the transaction information. Profile information is as important in order to identify an account as risky or high level, low level, or moderate level risk. Similarly, KYC freshness is required. So eventually you can have a KYC freshness score at place in your GenAI system. Similarly, you should have certain risk scoring across your onboarding methods. Okay, how you are onboarding the customers. And depending on your KYC freshness and depending on the onboarding methods, your risks can change materially. Okay, so in case if there is a old KYC customer and he was onboarded remotely and he is continuously doing a lot of transactions, then he should eventually be identified as a moderate or a high risky account, and regular monitoring and regular KYC update is required, and the AI system should be able to do it. This is one rule from government. Okay, then high risk customer categories should trigger stronger monitoring. So in case if you belong to a high risk customer category, then the GenAI system should do stronger monitoring across all the transactions which are happening. Okay, so no transaction should go missed across high risk candidates. That is the rule. And in case if there is anything, there should be an escalation happening to the RBI or to the higher bank officials so that they can take a respective decision and move forward. Okay, so AI would be doing all of this. Now, the next part is transaction monitoring rules. What are the rules with which you will monitor the transactions? Okay, so we are clear with the profile of the customers. So we are done with the KYC part. We are done with the money laundering rules. We are done with politically exposed professionals and some high risk account categories, some special account categories. Now we have to identify the transaction monitoring rules. Okay, before we start implementing that, we should have an idea about this. So these rules, these helps bank decide whether a transaction looks normal, unusual, or suspicious. Okay, so there are three categories of a transaction. Okay, so what we have to typically do, we have to decide whether a transaction looks normal, unusual, or suspicious. Okay, this is what our system should be able to do at production, at scale, across, let's say, all branches. Okay. Now, so what is a suspicious transaction? These are the rule areas which we are going to cover. So the first rule of suspicious transaction says, and these are the signals, okay, which we have to implement practically in the software. So we are going to flag transactions linked to crime proceeds. Okay. Any transactions which are reported to, let's say, police or in any existing case, and if that data is available through these channels, so those accounts should be flagged by banks. Okay, that is an important part. So any transactions which are related to any criminal proceedings across court, across police, if that data is centrally available, that all those transactions should be flagged. Okay, there should be unusual, if there is an unusual complexity across a transaction. Okay, we will define how we are going to identify an unusual complexity with an LLM. Okay, then lack of economic rationale. Okay, or terrorism financing concerns. So these are the 4 categories where a suspicious transaction should be monitored. So we need to have appropriate data across all these 4 categories. How will we identify a criminal proceed? How will we have an unusual complexity of a transaction? How will we have lack of economic rationale and what kind of transactions fall into this category? And how will we identify terrorism financing concern related transactions? Okay, so I'm going to provide you a data set which will cover all of these different types of transactions so that you'll have an idea about how these transactions look and how we are going to train an AI model which will try to predict across these known categories. Similarly, there are large and unusual transactions. Okay, these also has to be flagged. So you have to flag high value or unusual RTGS, NEFT, wire transfer, forex, or cash activity. Okay, that does not fit the customer profile. So eventually, let's say if a customer has not done any big transaction from last 5 years, and suppose today he's drawing 20 lakhs or 25 lakhs out of his account, okay, then it looks like suspicious because it is a high value transaction and this behavior does not align with this customer profile. So eventually, if you have observed, if you don't do regular high value transactions regularly, whenever you do a high value transaction, you will get a call from the bank manager. Yes, sir, I have seen that you got this transaction in your account. Shall I approve this or not? So then you confirm him, okay, yes, this is my account, I'm the holder, and you prove your identity digitally over the call, and then they allow the transaction. Okay. So how will that bank manager gets to know that something like that is happening? Because there is a system at place. As of now, they are only able to identify high value transactions. But with GenAI and AI, we can do a lot of signal based monitoring. It will not be only limited to high value transactions. It can have a lot more signals, and this alert can be more optimized so as to have precise alert mechanisms. ठीक है, ये बात समझ में आ रही है तरुण कि हमारे पास अगर लार्ज या अनयूजुअल ट्रांजैक्शंस हो रही हैं तो हमें उसे भी फ्लैग करना पड़ता है सिस्टम को. द जेनएआई सिस्टम शुड बी एबल टू डू इट. ठीक है. सो अगर कहीं कोई हाई वैल्यू आरटीजीएस हुआ या एनईएफटी हुआ या वायर ट्रांसफर हुआ या कोई फॉरेक्स से पैसा आ गया या आपने फॉरेक्स में लगा दिया, ठीक है, कोई कैश एक्टिविटी हुई, आपने 20 लाख कैश विड्रॉ करने के लिए आपने एप्लीकेशन डाल दी, मतलब आप चले गए और 20 लाख का कैश ड्रॉ कर लिया. सो यू मे गेट कॉल्स फ्रॉम मतलब these transactions gets monitored and gets flagged as well. Similarly, the third category of transaction monitoring is profile inconsistency. So flag activity inconsistent with declared business. So suppose if you are a businessman and let's say if you are a sofa dealer, okay, so a typical price of a sofa could be, let's say, maximum 5 lakh rupees. Let's say it can start somewhere from 50,000 rupees and can go, let's say, for 5 lakh rupees. General average transactions. Suppose you did 1 CR transaction on a day. So obviously this is very, very irrelevant transaction happening from your account. Okay. So definitely that is flagged, and banks can monitor across your business. Similarly, then they can review your other income which is coming in your account and what were the sources of income which was coming in your account. Maybe you're trying to use your account for some other activity, maybe just not for business. Okay. So all such behavioral transactional monitoring is done, and there should be a system at place. Okay. Now, source of funds identification is done. कौन से बैंक अकाउंट से पैसा आया, क्या वो बैंक अकाउंट कोई बेटिंग रिलेटेड बिजनेस से तो रिलेटेड नहीं है, कोई स्पोर्ट्स से रिलेटेड तो नहीं है. आप बिजनेस कर रहे हो सोफे का, बट ट्रांजैक्शन आपके पास आ रही है सम गेम किंग इंडिया online.com से, ठीक है, या मे बी सम अकाउंट्स रिलेटेड टू दैट, और एनी अकाउंट विच इज कनेक्टेड टू विथ लेट्स से कोई ऐसी एप्लीकेशंस हैं जो इंडिया में रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है, इंटरनेशनल है और जस्ट एक एक्सचेंज की तरह काम कर रही है. मान लो आपके पास माल्टा से पैसा आ गया या दुबई से पैसा आ गया या किसी ऐसी कंट्री से आ गया, नाइजीरिया से आ गया. ठीक है. सो व्हाई इज दैट हैपनिंग? एंड ऑल दोज वुड बी all those sorts of funds are monitored. Similarly, your historical behavior. अगर आप हिस्टोरिकली अगर आपके अकाउंट में ऐसी कोई ट्रांजैक्शंस हो रही हैं, आप लोगों ने देखा होगा अकाउंट्स फ्रीज हो जाते हैं जहां पे भी कुछ गड़बड़ अकाउंट्स एक्टिविटी होने लगती है फाइनेंशियली, एंड इफ देयर इज नो प्रॉपर एविडेंस अराउंड इट, सो बैंक्स फ्रीज कर देता है. बैंक हैज दिस ऑप्शन टू फ्रीज such accounts. Okay, so how we are going to deal with that? However, GenAI system is going to reproduce appropriate signal in order to take the accurate action, because the objective to put a GenAI system is to reduce the human load and increase the optimize the discovery process across these transactions and profile, and make a relevant escalation call. Okay, do not escalate every large transaction, because नहीं तो क्या होता है, बैंक मैनेजर का टाइम वेस्ट होता है. अगर मान लो किसी ने शादियों के सीजन में लोग बड़े बड़े ट्रांजैक्शंस कर रहे हैं और बहुत सारी लेजिटिमेट ट्रांजैक्शंस हैं, ठीक है, सो इन केस इफ दैट इंफॉर्मेशन इज नॉट अवेलेबल, so bank manager would be occupied in calling all of these people and reducing their customer experience. So a GenAI system has to be responsible enough in order to identify what might be the appropriate signals which should reflect suspicion. Okay, so that we have to train the model, and we will see. While we get the data set, we are going to train the model, and on the basis of training that model, we will get to know, okay, these are some patterns or these are some knowledge which we have extracted out of our processes, कि इसकी वजह से हम प्रोफाइल को इनकंसिस्टेंट मार्क कर सकते हैं या सस्पिशियस मार्क कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, वो हमें एक एआई मॉडल बिल्ड करना है. सिमिलरली, हाई टर्नओवर विथ लो बैलेंस. ठीक है, मान लो आप 10 करोड़ कमाते हैं एक साल में, 10 CR का आपका रेवेन्यू है, और हर महीने मिनिमम एवरेज बैलेंस आपका 5,000 भी नहीं है अकाउंट में. ठीक है, सो दैट इज अ वेरी वेरी सस्पिशियस एक्टिविटी कि आप इतना सारा ट्रांजैक्शंस कर रहे हैं करोड़ों का, और बैंक में आपके पास 5,000 भी नहीं होते. ठीक है, यानी आप एक तरीके से अकाउंट को यूज कर रहे हैं, कहीं से पैसा आता है और आप कहीं और पार्क कर देते हो उसको. ठीक है, सो यू आर मिस यूजिंग दैट अकाउंट, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो अ सस्पिशियस बिहेवियर. ओके, सो अगर आप इसलिए देखोगे, एक मिनिमम एवरेज बैलेंस करके एक रेगुलर स्कोर है जो करती है बैंक हर 30 तारीख को, और आपको आज की डेट में नोटिफाई भी करती है कि काइंडली मेंटेन योर MAB और योर MAB इज दिस एंड दैट. सो दैट इज देयर प्रैक्टिस टू आइडेंटिफाई कि आपके अकाउंट्स लेजिटिमेट हैं या नहीं. If you're using a savings account and you are having no savings and doing a lot of transactions across that saving account, then it is suspicious. It could be faulty. So all these behavioral information is now accounted by the banks, and RBI has given that mandate across it. Okay, now, so flag accounts where money flows rapidly in and out while the average balance remains low. So this is also a suspicious behavior. Similarly, third party instrument plus cash withdrawal. Okay, suppose you have to flag third party check or draft deposits followed by quick large cash withdrawals. Okay, this is also suspicious कि आपने कहीं से किसी ने आपको 10 लाख रुपए ट्रांसफर कर दिया और तुरंत आप बैंक में गए, आप वेट कर रहे थे, उधर से ट्रांजैक्शन आई, इधर से आपने निकाल ली तुरंत. ठीक है, सो दिस इज ऑल्सो सस्पिशियस एक्टिविटी. ठीक है, दिस इज ऑल्सो गेट्स मॉनिटर्ड. सो कई बार क्या होता है कि ठीक है, मतलब मे बी बहुत बार मिस हो जाती हैं ट्रांजैक्शंस. ठीक है, क्योंकि आप हर ट्रांजैक्शन तो मॉनिटर नहीं कर सकते, बैंक्स के पास अभी उतने भी स्ट्रॉन्ग सिस्टम्स नहीं है. ठीक है, अब बाद में हो सकता है RBI से कोई मैंडेट आ जाए या कोई इंफॉर्मेशन आ जाए टू अ बैंक, एंड then the bank starts reviewing those transactions, or bank will start to they will start taking actions once they get a complaint. So post complaint they will start reviewing what happened. But now if you have a system at place, you can do a lot of good things. You can prevent any such mishappenings or any such transactions which are non-compliant. You can stop at the beginning as soon as you have got a historical signal around it. ठीक है, ये बात क्लियर हो गई, समझ में आ गया. सो थर्ड पार्टी इंस्ट्रूमेंट यानी कहीं बाहर से पैसा आया, आपने किसी और दूसरे अकाउंट से आपने चेक जमा कराई और वहां से कैश विड्रॉ करके आपने निकाल लिया, तो वो भी सस्पिशियस ट्रांजैक्शन. ठीक है, इमीडिएटली इसलिए कभी भी ट्रांजैक्शंस नहीं किए जाते बड़े लार्ज वैल्यू. एक दो दिन होल्ड करके, 4 दिन होल्ड करके, कुछ पैसा निकाल करके, मतलब people do all of those activities. Similarly, many small cash deposits. Flag repeated small cash deposits, especially from multiple locations, into one account. Okay. So if this behavior is identified, that you are getting multiple small transactions from different regions, okay, then also it could be a suspicious activity. Okay, this is also identified. Similarly, repeated similar checks. Okay, this is also a malicious transactions. Flag bursts of checks with the same or similar amount and date. Okay, and date patterns. So this is also important. So you have to train the system so that you can identify if you are getting a lot of checks with the same or similar amount and date patterns. Okay. And then there is a threshold breach. What you have to do, you have to flag breaches of account type limits or unusual value spikes beyond expected activity. Okay. I believe this is clear. Great. So I think